Okay. So tonight we have a Q&A session, and tonight there's not many questions, and also there are some questions. I don't think that the questions is going to have a long answers. So therefore we may have some time at the end. So what you all can do is that if you have any verbal questions, then later on after I finish these questions, and then we can go into a verbal questions. Or if you do not want to have a verbal questions, then you can type your questions in the chat session, in the chat, and then we'll try to read it from the chat. And also, of course, there are some devotees are also in the Facebook, and we'll try to monitor the comments there. If there's any questions, we'll try to extract it out from there, and then we'll try to paste it on the chat also. So we'll all depends on the organizer whether they can find your questions or not. So if you have any questions later on, then we can verbally or in a written form. Okay. Let's just go to the first question. All right, this is the first question. Question 1. May Bhante guide on below regarding meditation? Number 1. In order to avoid heavy sleepiness, which always happen after lunch hour, normally I do walking meditation for 1 hour instead of sitting meditation immediately after lunch. But can see almost all yogis following the timetable. So I will be out of the schedule, may not be able to do group sitting meditation together at that particular time. Should I really follow the retreat timetable instruction? So here, first of all, yes, you should follow the timetable instruction. Although a lot of times yogis prefer that after lunch they like to do some 1 hour walking meditation. But I tell you that this time may not be necessary for you to do a walking meditation unless you're so sleepy. But most of the time, I think you can able to handle it. Now, what you can do before lunch, and also the time that is after lunch before the next sitting, the next afternoon sitting, the first afternoon sitting, what you can do is this. During the retreat, my advice is that whatever that you want to do, your laundry, your shower, or whatever that you want to do, you do it in the morning session before lunch. So that means you try not to do shower just after lunch. All you need to do, whatever that it can be done in the morning, do it in the morning, and keep immediately the time after lunch as free as possible until the evening already. Then you don't want to do all these type of things. Then, because of you have the time after lunch, then what you can do is that for some yogis, if you feel tired for the day, then that particular time that you may have, you take a nap. You take a nap for like half an hour or so, and you take a nap, and then during this time when you take that nap, you may not necessarily go into sleep. Sometimes, yes, okay. But if it's not, then no problem. Just lie down there. Don't let the mind run, and just rest the body. Close the eyes and rest the body. And then try not to move, and try not to let the mind goes into a lot of thinking. So what you need to do is keep the body rest in that position, to rest in that position. Because sometimes there'll be days during in the retreat, because of you wake up at 3 o'clock or you wake up at 4 o'clock, and then when it comes into the lunchtime or afternoon time, it can be quite tiring for some people, and also for some of the time that when you are meditating. Some days when you're meditating, some days you don't feel so bodily so heavy, then it's perfectly all right. Then you don't have to take the nap. So I find that when you're taking that nap, then the afternoon session, it's very, it's better. Not to say there's zero sleepiness, but it's much more better. You don't have to struggle too much with the sleepiness. Because sometimes the body, it's not the mentally is tired. Sometimes the body is the one that is tired. And then when the body is tired, it affects the noting, it affects the noticing here and there. And then it, in the sense that it may affect the meditation overall. So you try that and see. There are also lying down position that sometime in the past, some people taught me how to do a yoga pose. They call it the dead man's posture. The dead man's posture. You'll just lie down there as if like your leg spread out a little bit, your hands also spread out a little bit. Then you lie on your back and then you close your eyes. That one, something like this. But it's effective or not, it all depends on you. So this is the first thing. The first thing the first thing is that all your activities, daily chores and all that, you put it all in the beginning. The second one is that you take a nap. This one to take a nap is optional. Now the third one, when it comes to this sleepiness after lunch, is that then here you have to monitor what you eat or how much you eat. What you eat also there's also some concern. So you have to monitor what you eat, and also you have to monitor how much you eat. That one also it's important. So here the recommendation in the retreat time is that when you come into with your food, especially your solid food, it's about, you take it about 80% full. About 80% full, and then after that the 20% it may be soup, maybe some drinks, dessert also is part of the 80%, it's not part of the 20%. With that, sometimes it helps to clear the sleepiness quite a lot. We don't have to eat the same amount every day. We kind of like learn to feel the body, before we want to take the meal or for lunch. Then we learn to feel the body. Is it that this one is enough or not? Or is it too much or is it too little? It all depends each and every day. Things can be very different. So you monitor that. You monitor those things. So this is the third one. The fourth one, which is I find it the most important, is that whenever that you finish your morning session, let's say you go back to your room or going back to your dorm, and then you take a shower, and then you go for lunch, and then you do whatever you want, and then in the afternoon you come for the first sitting. Now during that period that you finish your morning sittings or morning walking, you must learn and you must make the effort to continue your mindfulness into your dorm, into your room, into your eating time. So So whenever you eat and whenever in your dorm and you already gather up all the mindfulness and you do as much as you can, you make the effort as continuous as you can. By the time you reach the meditation hall for the first sitting in the afternoon, you are very ready already during that time. Your mind is clear, your mind is alert for the afternoon sittings. So the one that is the continuous mindfulness, especially when you are not in the walking and the sitting, that is where a lot of yogis are not doing it. They take it as, they are doing things slowly, but the mind is not at the present. So when the mind is not present, and then you feel sometimes, let's say you got a 1 o'clock sitting, right? And then the other walk session in the morning, you may finish at 11 o'clock, for example, or 10:30, for example. And then from there, from 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you already break that session and you're not mindful during that session. And then you wait until 1 o'clock only you want to start off with something. Then, therefore, of course, if you go into the sitting, there will be a lot of sleepiness or a lot of drowsiness or a lot of thinking mind. So it'd be good that while we're in a retreat, then we make sure that during this time also we try to be as mindful as we can. Well, this is something that what you can do, and then therefore you can able to follow the timetable, and it makes the whole meditation much more better overall. Okay, this is question 1. But anyway, the question 1 here is all for now. It's just, it's theoretical right now. You can't go for a retreat right now. No? So you and I also, we cannot go for a retreat right now. And then hopefully we all can able to remember these things. And then when things are open, when the retreat centers are open, then hopefully we can put this into practice. Okay, right. So we go to the second question. Now, sometimes due to unable to sleep during retreat, even when doing walking meditation, try to pay full attention to the leg movement. Somehow this sleepiness may still prompt out very frequently. I just ignore it. Continue walking without stop to note it till it disappears. But if purposely checked it, then it becomes very prominent, or sometimes can feel the sleepiness a bit like at the background. What is Bhante's advice? Okay. So now here when you are doing in the walking meditation, then as long as when you are doing walking meditation, as long as your mindfulness is continuous, that means that when you're able to pay attention to your lifting, pushing, dropping, or sensation or pressure that is going on at that present moment, then during that time, the sleepiness or drowsiness, it will be pushed to the side. It will push to the side because at this moment of time, the effort to arouse the mindfulness and to sustain the mindfulness and the concentration and the wisdom and the penetration of the mind, they are all in the optimal level. Therefore, when the wholesome mind is there, the unwholesome mind is put aside. The drowsiness, the laziness of the mind is put aside. But they are kind of like building up at the behind. They're building up at the behind because sometimes this type of sleepiness, while we're in the walking, sometimes it may not due to just the mind being lazy. It again, just like number 1, it may due to the bodily tiredness. It may due to the bodily tiredness, but because of the mindfulness is there, it cannot comes in. But the moment that you pay attention to it, or the moment that when your mindfulness drops, then this time it will seep in, and then the moment that you have a gap for it to come in, you will have a full-blown drowsiness. Sometimes that drowsiness, even in the walking also, you can have a lot of yawning, and then you can feel that your body is become lethargic, and then the mind also, for some yogis, it's like stand and sleep. Stand and sleep. It can be very tiring. Yeah? So as long as your mind is keeping on noting onto the object, then it's fine. You just keep it at the side. Yeah. So if you want to check it, so make sure that you have a tremendous effort at noting at it. Because if your mind the effort is not strong enough, then that drowsiness will overtake for that period of time. So it will be safer. It will be safer. Just keep noticing at the bodily objects, because this time the bodily objects is helping you to sustain the mindfulness. If you go into other objects, especially like hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, or even to the mental objects, then during this time, the mind cannot able to sustain on those more subtle objects. And then when you try to note on them, then the mindfulness just pour itself into the presentness. So therefore, keep it to the body object, especially when there is whenever there's you feel that there's a lot of sleepiness there. Keep it to the bodily objects, keep it to the sensation, keep it to the movements, and then it will be very helpful for you to keep the sleepiness aside. You cannot force the sleepiness to go away. One of the wrong thing of yogi usually they want to do is that they want to force the sleepiness to clear the sleepiness. You don't have to force it. All you need to do is that make sure that your mindfulness is noticing other wholesome or other bodily objects clearly. By itself, it will be kept aside. And later on, if the mindfulness is become clearer, stronger, the sleepiness usually will disappear. That will be a better choice for us to take note of it. Now, if you find that if you are a more advanced meditator, then when more advanced meditator means that when your mindfulness is strong enough, when your mindfulness is sustainable enough, then during this time you can stop for a while and pay attention to the sleepiness. Then you see how the sleepiness is affecting you, affecting the body. In the sense that when it affects the body, you may find that the body is slightly moving, slightly going forward, slightly softening, and then you may find that your mind can go into a bit of dreamlike state. Then those are characteristics of drowsiness or sloth and torpor, and then you take note of it, and you pay attention to it carefully. If you pay attention to it carefully, after a while, then also that sleepiness will disappear. So this one is more for those who are more advanced in the meditation. You can able to handle the mental hindrances more carefully, then they can able to see it directly. So if you feel that you are not into that stage, then therefore continue the walking meditation. All right. Then this is the first and the second question. Okay. Next question. Question 2. On the 7 stages of purity, okay, you mentioned a few times that under the 14 and 15 insight knowledges, the Sotapanna experiences Nibbana. Maybe I heard wrongly. I thought only Arahants can experience and attain Nibbana fully. Can Bhante kindly clarify? Thank you. Okay. Now, yes, during the time when we are talking about the stages of purification, the different levels of purification or in the different insight knowledges. Then here, I mentioned that all noble ones can experience Nibbana. All noble ones can experience Nibbana. That means from Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahants, all of them can experience Nibbana whenever they direct the mind towards it. They don't experience Nibbana all the time. If they experience Nibbana all the time, they cannot live, they cannot eat, they cannot do anything. No. Only when they go into a meditation, they direct the mind towards the Nibbana, to realize the Nibbana, then only they experience the Nibbana, but not all the time they experience. The Buddha also don't all the time experience Nibbana. They live in a very mundane, everyday world. So here, maybe sometimes we may get we thought that only Arahants can experience or attain Nibbana fully. No, you see here just sometimes you need a clarification, because of sometimes there's this is the one. Sometimes I think that it may make the person devotees to become confused a little bit. Here that in the beginning of the Third Noble Truth, that time we mentioned about this. There are two so-called types of Nibbana. There are not two types of Nibbana. It's just a different way of being experienced. Sa upadisesa Nibbana and anupadisesa Nibbana. Upadi here, upadi means formation, means the 5 aggregates. Now, sa upadisesa Nibbana. Nibbana with formations remaining. That means Nibbana with these 5 aggregates remaining, or in other words, Nibbana with this mind and body remaining. Okay? Yeah. That means all enlightened ones were still alive. That means they can able to experience Nibbana. All the Nibbana, I mean, whether it's a Sotapanna experience Nibbana, or Sakadagami, or Anagami, or Arahant, they experience so-called, inverted comma, the same Nibbana. There's no difference in Nibbana. There's no such thing as Anagami Nibbana. There's no such thing as Arahant Nibbana. Nibbana has no difference. There's no difference in that sense. As long as there's a path and fruition consciousness, then one can experience Nibbana. So those who are still alive, the noble ones still alive, then they able to experience Nibbana whenever they direct the mind towards it. Okay, so that one for the A, sa upadisesa Nibbana. For the B one, that is only for Arahants and also including the Buddha. So here, without the 5 aggregates remaining, without the formations, without the mind and body remaining, that means that here when Arahants have their final death, as I said that day, there's no, the word parinibbana, there's no translation into English. There's no translation into English. Because when we use the word death, there is always a rebirth. Whether one can see it, one cannot see it, it doesn't matter. You will still go into a rebirth. Whether you believe it or not, you will still go into a rebirth as long as your defilements are still intact. It's not eradicated. That means you'll still go into rebirth. So for all of us, we cannot understand what exactly means by parinibbana. We cannot exactly understand what is we conceptually able to only. So for Arahants, including the Buddha, the Pacceka Buddha, and they are the ones have what we call the final death. That means there will not be any more rebirth. So therefore, at that time, there's no 5 aggregates, there's no there's no experiencing anything at all. So therefore, we say that this is an anupadisesa nibbana. That means there is no condition. There is no condition for mind and matter to arise anymore. So there's no condition, then it's completely gone. But that arahant is not alive to experience these things. It only has to have its final death only. Then, of course, there won't be any experience. It's already, completely disappeared. In that sense. Okay, so they experience in that kind of sa-upasadisesa nibbana and anupadisesa nibbana for these two. On another time, perhaps also maybe we get the also confusion about this arahant. And I said that there is again how you experience like phala samapatti and nirodha samapatti. That means this is what we call the attainment of friction and the attainment of cessation. Attainment of friction here, phala samapatti, then that one also belongs to all the enlightened ones. Belongs to all the enlightened ones. That means they can able to attain. That means they can able to absorb into nibbana, into the phala or into the nibbana, into the phala consciousness. In that sense, absorption is a full absorption. Whereas when it comes into the other one, nirodha samapatti, attainment of cessation. Attainment of cessation, this one belongs to arahant and anagami, and they must be able to master all the 8 jhanas. The mastery of all the 8 jhanas. Then only they can able to fully experience cessation of the attainment of cessation, nirodha samapatti. Now, in the nirodha samapatti, attainment of nirodha samapatti during this time, the mind and the body completely goes into cessation. There's no feelings, there's no perception. Everything goes into stopping. Everything stops. That means there's no breathing. But the body is not dead. The body is not dead because there is the life is still going on. It's not a dead person, but as if like it's dead in that sense. There's no breathing. So it can go into this nirodha samapatti, and it can as if like completely experience nibbana while still alive, as if but it still has to come out after all. After 7 days, as according to the text, you cannot go more than 7 days because the body will deteriorate. So when the body deteriorates, he will die. So he will come out from that. So it depends whether he wants to do it 1 day, 2 days. You want to do it like 1 hour, 2 hours. It all depends on him. So that one is another way of looking at things. So in the sense that when your question asks, when only arahants can experience nibbana fully, it all depends on how you look at things. So if it's experience nibbana, all noble ones able to experience nibbana. Okay? So this is the question 2. Now question 3. Let's see. This one is... Now, the question 2, I find it easier to answer to you all. But when it comes to question 3, I have to struggle already. Because this is all worldly things. All right. Okay, if you hopefully you all can see everything, because it's quite... Okay, let me read. Under right intention, you mentioned that uh, if children tie their monthly allowance for parents with conditions, they are not fully giving. They give partial only, and they are letting go partially only. Okay. I think this statement is not true in every case. Sometimes it's wiser to set conditions. As a daughter in traditional household, you know your mother will use your hard-earned money to support her favorite son. Now, this son is idle for many months. He doesn't want to work because he cannot get the high-paying job. He thinks he deserves and shuns low-paying jobs even though they are available. By giving money to the son, the mother is actually encouraging him to remain idle. In this case, shouldn't the daughter set conditions to ensure that the allowance is used wisely and prudently? Okay. Example, the daughter will monitor mother's expenditure to check whether her allowance is being spent on. Would Bante comment on this situation, please? Because more and more, I'm finding that though the Buddha's teachings remain perfect, but one has to be wise in knowing when and how to apply in modern life. This is the challenge. This is a challenging question for me. let me scroll this a little bit so that we can able to see it in one page. I think it's too big. Paragraph. Okay. All right. Hopefully I can see in this one. All right. Right. Yes. Let me go through some of the things first. Yes. On the time that when we are beginning on the talk on the Noble Eightfold Path, when we begin to give a general understanding about the Noble Eightfold Path before we go into the deeper aspect of the morality, then I did mention that when we as children, when we give to parents, so sometimes, as I said, we give with a lot of conditions, with a lot of a lot of what you should do or should not do in that sense. So, as I said, that these are not a fully sense of giving. It's a partially of that we are letting go. We are letting go partially. I mentioned those things, but I have a lot of things that why I've said this. But before we go into that, okay, you said it's wiser to set condition, not to say I do not go against this one. In a certain sense, I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you in a certain sense. Later we'll talk about it. Now here you put here example. I think your example is more like it's a truth. Something is true. Well, it's not just an example. Maybe something is very true in our everyday life. Now, some of you may if you are not a Chinese, if you are coming in from overseas and you're reading this sentence as a daughter in a traditional household, you know that your mother will use the hard-earned money to support her favorite son. And this one is something that we have to address this thing, because in the Chinese culture, if you are a son and daughters, then in the traditional, in the more old-fashioned thinking, the parents is always that there's a favoritism, and it always goes to the son. And the history also shown that thing. One thing is that you have a son, is that the son, first of all, you will bear the surname. In Chinese, the surname is a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big thing. And also with all the economical wise, financial, and all those things. So in the Chinese tradition, and there's in the olden days, there's a favoritism. Even nowadays, I've still once in a while, did see that there are this old type of mentality to say, and then they favor the son and not the daughter, although they love the daughter, but they favor the son more. This is some of the things. If sometimes you may read it and then you may not understand, then, well, okay. Now this is the son idle for many months. Now he doesn't work and so on. So the money is giving, the mom is giving money to the son and actually encouraging him to remain idle. Okay. Shouldn't the daughter set condition that the allowance is used wisely and prudently? Okay. Now, when we are giving, I cannot really answer your question over here because I have to be there. But if I'm there in your shoes, I will kind of like act what you are doing also. Act what you are doing if I'm in your shoes. But looking at the spiritual context, but here as a monk, and I'm looking at the spiritual context. And here I have said that when the offering is being done, this is not a full offering. Although it is wise, but it's not a full offering. One thing is that we can basically divide that offering into two parts. The first part is that offering or giving or dana, that there is a worldly giving. Okay? Worldly giving here means there are still wholesome effects. They are still condition connected. And overall, it is still wholesome. But it is still with conditions. Even though your choice is a right choice or is a wise choice for that particular situation or the situation that you are in right now, you find that this is a wise choice, well and good. But it is still with conditions. And when it comes with conditions, therefore, the giving is not full. All right? When the giving will not be full because there is certain conditions is involved. The other one, when it comes into, for example, like a very deep spiritual way of giving, then when it's fully letting go, then we do not set any conditions anymore. Take for example, when we, sometimes you may hear about the parami, and especially the dana parami. And the dana parami is connected with this Visantara Jataka. And at the end of the perfecting of the parami, the bodhisattva has to give up the wife and the son. Even an old person came to the house without knowing who he is, and the old person requests for his wife and the child, he also has to give them up because of to perfect the dana parami in that sense. So you see, that type of giving, that form of giving, is that the moment the person asks, although that person is supposed to be Sakadeva Raja according to the text, and he disguised himself as an old person in order to test the bodhisattva whether he can able to let go everything or not. So too, when you see, therefore, when you see these things, that they can able to fully give up without any condition. And here we are only giving money, and then we already set conditions in how is it to be done and not to be done. Although in a sense of worldly sense, as I said, your situation, I can agree with you. Now, worldly sense, I agree with you. In overall sense, I also see that there are still conditions that's involved. For example, or sometimes you look at another way of offering is that if the son or the daughter goes to become a monk or a nun, then here he cannot able to give anything at all to the household, to the parents and so on. He cannot give, he cannot support, and then he goes to a monk. And then the worldly people may think that, you see that one very, very, very selfish, thinking about himself, and it's all his parents he doesn't want to support and all that. He become a monk or she become a nun. And then, although the worldly people look into it in that way, but in the overall sense, it's so much more greater than just offering to the parents, But of course, later on, when he or she becomes much more, he can offer it in another way, a much more meaningful way. But because of our worldly looking at things, because of our worldly ways of seeing things, then we always associate with all this narrow way of looking at it. Oh, if it doesn't support, that means he is not filial piety. It is not. He doesn't have that filial piety. He doesn't have that care and concern for the parents. The worldly people may say that. So if we are so attached to all this, what people say, and then without looking at the further goals, the higher goals, then we'll always stay in where we are. We cannot able to come out from that zone. It's always, we always pull back by it. Now, since you all are mostly worldly devotees, I don't think there's any monk or nun, or maybe there's nuns, or maybe who knows, monks in the talk. So most of you are lay devotees, and you have to deal with the everyday parents or children or siblings or your colleague or anything. Then here, your resources are limited. Your resources are limited, your finances are limited, and so on. And therefore, your choice has a certain degree of condition. Then it's totally understandable. It's totally understandable. You cannot change. It's not so easy for us to change in that sense because of our way of looking at things. So therefore, what you are the example that you have given here, it's okay for you to do that. It's perfectly all right for you to do that. But we also acknowledge that there is still conditions there. Take another example, since we are talking about this one. Another way of how we still attach to our things. This one happened in every meditation. Happened in every monastery. Every monastery that at least I went to. So something like this. So the devotees come with their food for breakfast or for lunch. Let's say there's a lot of people, there are a lot of people coming for breakfast or for lunch, especially for lunch, and then they come and offer the food and so on. Then after they offer the food to the monks, and then after the monks have finished, right? Then after the monk finished, and then they left, and then the devotees usually they will stay together, and then they will eat. Then that is where you see their attachment still come up again. How? Because the food that you cook, this is I cook one. Although you offer it just earlier on to the monks, they're really giving up. But when the monk have left, give up, it's nobody anymore. So back to you again, then this is yours again. A lot of times we do that. We see that these things are happening. And not only that, sometimes, of course, even with a few, if let's say you are two, you have to take back the extra food, even though you cook or somebody else, you have to take back the food. If not, you cannot leave it there. But there are a lot of people, a lot of devotees that comes, and then they offer that particular person. Sometimes they take back their own particular food back also. Yeah? The attachment is still there on that food. Yeah, don't really fully give up, in that sense. All right. Okay. All right. So this is about all on tonight's this one. Let me see. Any question? No question. No question. Fine. No problem at all. Okay. So no question. Fine. Then we call it a night. Yeah. That's it. No. All right, that's it for the night. Then we will continue the talk on Monday, same time, 9 p.m. Okay.